Hello, in this video we're going to continue with the Pong tutorial. So we are going to get the ball to respawn then when it hits one of the goals. That way the score isn't going crazy and we get the game to continue kind of like the way it normally would. So we are going to think about what is that event going to be. So when we're playing in video games, things always come down to the events that are happening. It's about what the human players are doing, with the ball bouncing off of the paddle, it's scoring into the goal. It's those moments that we want to think about. And when we do, then our next steps. So we want to decide at what point is the ball going to respawn? Well, that's when the ball hits one of the goals. Right, so we're going to be somewhere in here in the ball versus goal function. Now the if statement here determines if it hits the goal. So anything between the curly braces, that's where we are when it has hit a goal, so it needs to respawn. Right, and that's why goal dot score plus plus, and then we do the console log just to see it. So this is kind of the place we're going to be in. Now I could just go ahead and type out the code to make it happen, but I think it would be good to call a function. Now I don't have this function yet, but let's pretend that we have a function called spawn ball. And so by pretending that I have it, I'm just calling it here. But I need to define that function, otherwise I would get an error. So spawn ball, parentheses, curly braces. All right, so the idea is that it takes ball dot position dot x and sets it kind of back to what it's supposed to be. So if we look back at our initial values, it's kind of in the center of the screen. So the original position for x and y was 200 and 200, being in the center of this square here. All right, so we're going to do ball.position.x is 200, just like it was before. Ball.position.y equals 200, just like it was before. So let's just try that to kind of see the way it looks. And so we defined how the ball is supposed to spawn. So if I let it score, then that moment I did score 1 point, and then it spawns again. All right, now we do get, the kind of goofy way this is working with the rectangles that we have here. And it's kind of goofy that it also keeps moving in exactly the same way every time. So it definitely doesn't feel like a fair thing here. So what we could do is to actually introduce a little bit of randomness in here. Now, we could do it where it was carefully selecting which direction it goes in based on who just scored. But I think it'd be more interesting to have it go in a random direction. So I would want to take the ball dot velocity dot x to start with and set that equal to some random kind of a number. Right? So instead of me just saying that it's going to be the same thing that it was before, then I'm going to say it is the result of the random function. So that's actually a function that we have in P5. There's various versions of it. If I give it nothing in the parentheses, if I give it one number, if I give it two numbers, if I give it an array of things, which we haven't really talked about arrays. I want to pick a number between a couple different values here. Now, if I made it super simple and just said like 3, okay, so like pick up to 3. And then I did the same thing for ball.velocity.y equals random 3 as well. And now by doing that, then you can see how we get it to kind of go at a different speed then, and it's going in a different direction. But if you watch it enough times, you'll see how it doesn't, so the speed does change, but you see how it doesn't go in every single possible direction. All right, so we're always kind of stuck in this quadrant over here when it does the respawning. And that's because I'm picking a random number up until 3, but starting at 0. So I'm always getting these positive numbers. So it's always going to head toward the right in some amount, even if it's really small, at least to an extent. And then it's always going to head down because the y is going to be positive. So instead of just saying 3, I could actually give it a range. I could say from -3 to 3. So I say random parentheses -3 comma 3. And if I do the same thing here, then I would get the same thing. So now these could possibly be negative, but they could be positive. Both of them are random for the x and the y component. All right, so now it is possible for them to go in any kind of direction. And we could play around with what the numbers would be exactly. But what then could also be interesting is maybe we keep things exactly the way we have it, or instead of having this kind of code exactly, maybe we even call spawn ball at the beginning here because it's going to perform the same task. So then we could at least get some randomness at the start of the game. So lots of different things we could change about it.